Some of you may have seen this already, but I just wanted to acknowledge our sponsors, so I'm going to play a video really quick. All right, thank you all for joining us today. My name is Chelsea. I'm the Global GARD Coordinator. Today, we have Dr. Evangeline Alcilha, who will be moderating the session and introducing everyone. So I'll hand it over to you, Vanji.
All right. Good morning and good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are.
Yes.
We welcome you to this Women in GARD. This is our inaugural meeting. So congratulations to everybody who is here. We thought of the purpose of this is to sort of like bring together women in our network and see if, just to give an assessment, do we have a voice? Do we want to be together to express our voice? Whatever. So this is the inaugural meeting. This is more of like assessment. Is this an activity that is worth pursuing for all of us, and so on. So we will start with just the idea of what are our experiences. So I was in a group of women, and I was really surprised that different people have different experiences. Of course, right? But the depth of that experience was very inspiring, because everyone had a beautiful story. So I thought, well, maybe our women in GARD would have beautiful stories that we need to express and we need to hear. And maybe our objective is to encourage the young women to pursue. Sometimes they may be disadvantaged in one way or another. We don't know. That's why we want to do this. And how can we help, right? How can we help them overcome hurdles and challenges? Not necessarily because they're women, but because of maybe an area of poverty or challenges, things like that. I mean, I'm just saying, this is, again, an inaugural meeting. So this is more of a scoping type of meeting, like, is this an activity worth pursuing? So that's the rationale behind organizing these Women in GARD. So before I forget, because there are other people in the Zoom who are attending, feel free to join in. For those of you who are attending, just feel free to join in. So as you know, GARD's vision is to prevent illness, save lives, and sustain health, especially in populations who need help the most but can afford the least. So that's our kind of like goal in our vision in this. And we define sustainable health as including human body and everything else that maintains it. So safe and nutritious food, clean water, clean environment, good relationships even, right? So those are all part of a sustainable health from my perspective. So with that, as I have said always, everybody has a place in GARD, everybody. Whatever is your field of interest, you have a place in GARD. So now with this, I would like to bring in now to start the panel discussion so we can maximize our time. Chelsea sent you like several questions, and those are questions that are just preliminary questions. As I said, the agenda is to explore the possibility of forming a Women in GARD, and if this is a potential activity, we can move forward. So let's start with your experiences, right? I want to hear everybody's experiences. The first question I'd like to pose is, tell why you have chosen to study in STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or in whatever field you are in, why did you do it? So I will just call on everybody, don't be pressured on reading or presenting. This is just a conversation. All right, so this is a conversation, and we want an honest and stimulating conversation with the objective of encouraging young women and how we can sort of guide them in such a way that that's the mistakes we made, that they will not repeat, right? That's the point, right? Don't repeat the mistakes we made. So so why did you choose it? And just just honestly tell us what happened. Okay, I will start with myself. My area of interest in the Bachelor's of Science degree, BS, undergrad, was chemistry. Now, why did I choose it? There was no algorithm. There was no algorithm to choose chemistry. It was more of elimination. So I'm the only child, so I grew up with my cousins. And most of my cousins, as you may be familiar with how the Philippines, we are a major exporter of nursing talents, medical doctor talents. So many would go into nursing and medical fields. And I told myself, no, I'm not going there. So that it really eliminated nursing, medicine, whatever related to medical, that eliminated because I wasn't going there. Then I had a cousin who was in chemistry and another cousin who was in business, which is not medical. And immediately I thought, well, since I'm not going to medical field and I didn't like business, I have a cousin who's chemistry. I'll take chemistry. That's how I chose chemistry. No algorithm. Okay. So that's my answer to the question. All right. I'd like to hear from others. Let's start with, I will just call from my screen. Anjana is the first on my screen. All right.
Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. I'm Anjana Singh, and myself, I present as a professor of microbiology, and I'm in Tribhuvan University at Central Department of Microbiology, and teaching and research is my work right now. But however, as Vanji says, that there is always a story behind why I have chosen STEM, right? So my background is like bachelor's. I did my BSc in microbiology again. And that time I was a very shy girl that time. So what I thought is like, if I choose other subjects, I always thought that I have to go in science, that is there. But microbiology, basically, I thought because I sit in the lab and do quietly my work, that is what my intention was earlier. And I never used to speak up with anybody else, even in the class. I was quite a shy type then. And as soon as I finished my bachelor's, I got married. And it was an arranged marriage. For our Eastern world, it's arranged. Maybe Daya knows what is arranged, right? So yeah. I had an arranged marriage. So after that, I thought, okay, I don't know how to go ahead in my education. And fortunately, I topped in my bachelor's level. And then my father-in-law thought that being a topper, I should continue my education. Again, there was from family background, like mother-in-law and my sister-in-laws, they were there. And I have to go with along with my social work also, like my social norms at home also. And I was a little bit dragged behind, and I don't know what to do. And my husband also, he stood beside me and he said, you should ahead, you have to do masters. Then I joined my master's, and further, we have 2 years of master's studies. And in that first year, it was really a help for me because I was newly married and I was getting acquainted with the new environment, and as well as my studies was going on. So by the time I finished my kitchen work, like we have to cook, there's no option. And even if we have maid, they are just wash the dishes and clean the things. But cooking is that daughter-in-law has to cook, right? That is the society I was brought up, and that is what it was happening. And after 10 o'clock in the evening, then I start my work, my studies work, I mean to say. That is how I went. But however, I got distinction And by the time I got distinction in my studies, then I was motivated that I have to do something. And then I joined university. As soon as that time, it's not necessary to do PhD. And as soon as I finished my studies, I joined as a lecturer, assistant lecturer at that time. And then after 5 years of teaching, then I went to India, Jawaharlal Nehru University, where I got my exposure there to do my PhD. And there I really worked hard. And there I got mixed up with the scientists there, and PhDs and postdoc students were there, and how the study has to be done and how the analysis in science has to be done. That is what I learned. And part of my my career, my supervisor's hand is also there. And by the time I finished my PhD and then came back, and then again, I became the head of department in my department because we were short of faculties that time. And since I had been the first batch of master's student in microbiology in my department, so I had become the, then that time lecturer, I became associate. And by the time I became associate, I became the head of department. I served the department. And again, there was like connections with the Indian scientist. Then slowly I developed my career as a science researcher, and then went for the postdoctorate to University of Virginia in USA through Fulbright. And that was again a next big step for me, which I learned what is STEM and how the networking among males and females we have to do and how it worked out. And then came back again became the head of department and served the department. That time I also build up the science laboratory. Still, we don't have individual laboratory professors. We don't have, because there is a constraint of space as well as finance also. We have a common laboratory, but research laboratory, that is how we develop. And at least now we can do some type of diagnostic work also we can do. And in USA, I learned the diagnostic tool for the amoebiasis. And slowly we developed in the bacteria also in our department. And I'm right now working on the anaerobic bacteria in surgical site wound infections. So this is my short story where the husband itself, as well as my parents, my maternal parents, I should say, my maternal parents and my parents, they really helped me out to come to this mark. And it was a difficult and making understand to the in-laws, but however, I think I overcome it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Anjana. Very wonderful story, captivating story. Now we'll move to Daya, Swami Daya, Dr. Krishnananda.
Thank you very much, Manji, for giving all of us this opportunity and bringing all the women, who are real leaders, who are real power, who are the makers of this world, bringing them all together. So my story is not very different. So I would say that in India, generally, students can choose their academic discipline right in grade 9. So probably I was 13 or 14 years old at that time. And maybe I did not have any clue that, where I'm going to end up with by studying STEM. So it was more like my parents said that you joined STEM, and I joined, and it started. I completed my grade 9 and 10, and then 11 and 12. So I was not a very studious kid at that time. So my parents thought that probably I wouldn't sustain the hardship of STEM, and I would probably not go get into university. But somehow I got good grades in my school passing examination, that is grade 12, and then I moved on to university and I took physics as my major. And then I did my BSc, MSc, Masters, Bachelor's, and doctorate. So mine was a very zigzag path. I started from physics, then I did my Masters in digital signal processing, and my doctorate degree was on condensed matter physics, where I was exploring high temperature superconductors. And at that time, during 99, 2000, the high temperature superconductor was awarded Nobel Prize, so it was a hot area. So I did my PhD in that area. So the turning point in my life came. I went for a conference in Singapore to present my research work while I was pursuing my doctoral degree. So there, I met a professor who was working, who was a professor in Germany, and I was closely following his work. And on recognizing his name, I just went and started talking to him, and then he offered me a postdoc position. So I am very puny and short, and my supervisor was almost 7 feet, and he is a German, so strong, stout, and tall. So he offered me postdoc position, and I went there for postdoctoral studies. So the first day when I went and joined there, he told me that, Daya, you have to grow out of my shadow. So he meant that his shadow was so large that I had to grow out of it and become independent. So that was the first lesson that I learned, though it was not a lesson in technical lesson or in academics, but it had a deep impression in me that whatever I have to do, I'll have to do it on my own. And we did very good work at that time, and my postdoctoral work was on mobile telephony. At that time, mobile telecommunication systems were just launched, and 2G 3G were just coming to the market. So we were working with Ericsson's on a European Union project. So I worked there for 2 years, and I came back to India. And I came back to India briefly. I was at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, and then I joined industry Nokia Siemens Networks. And when I joined there, my boss, being in industry in the corporate world, in the initial days of my joining itself, my boss told that you will not get any preference because you are a female. You will be treated at par with your male colleagues. And my job was to deploy networks in the rural parts of India. And we deployed in South Africa as well. In the emerging markets area, the work was deployment, and sometimes I had to be on the field, for 3 to 4 days continuously. So during my, nurturing period, right from my, class 12 to my doctoral degree, doctoral degree, and then my, while I was working, mostly, I saw only men around me. There were very few female who were working around. At least during my class 12, I think there were only 10 female students who were pursuing science. And when I was in Nokia Siemens Networks, when I was in the industry, so there were only 3 females in the field deployment and 403 men. So it was a large group. So working with them, dealing with them, yes, it brings, it's not hardship. It is that, men and women are wired differently. We approach a problem differently. We, think of a solution. Maybe, we all have to arrive at the same solution, but the path that we take and generally men folk take is different. So it was a learning experience for me. And while I was working at that time, there was a vacancy that came up in my alma mater. So, and I decided to quit industry and get back to my alma mater from where I did my bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degree. So I'm back to my institution. And here I started from mobile telecommunication network, and we deployed network in the rural parts of India. So it is not rural, it was a deep tribal village. It was 40 kilometers from the suburbs of the central part of India. And we first time deployed the network. The complete technology was developed in-house, and the project was granted to me, and it was worth 60 million Indian rupees. So it was a big project granted by Government of India. We deployed, and today that tribal village is the most revenue making village in the central part of India. So, it was like I could pull it off. And while, fighting for the grant, again, I was the only female fighting for telecommunication grant, with all other being, very senior male folk. But point is, yes, I think we believe in ourselves. The day we start to believe in ourselves, I think somehow, things fall in place, and with that confidence, we can pull off things. And then, slowly I got into the area of biophysics. So why I got into the area of biophysics? Because it was more like, something unknown and something known. I don't know biology, and but biology interests me because I know that, everything is dependent on life. So my idea was always to see biology from physicist eyes. So during that time, I met Professor Alusila. It was a brief meeting in Delhi. We met there, and somehow we found, common areas, common interest, and we decided to work together. And I had twice visited Michigan State University, and I must say that I was very fortunate to have the warm hospitality of Professor Alicila and her husband. So since then, I mean, it's just not, professional connect. There has been a personal connect. And I think this matters in science. It is just not, connecting professionally, but also connecting at personal level, changing lives, changing feelings, creating network, personal networks, changing lives. So when many minds come together, then definitely a brainstorming takes a different paradigm altogether. And that is what is very important. So I'm really fortunate to have Professor Aracila, knowing her, not just as a professor in, bioengineering, but also as a person. You learn a lot from her, her empathy, her kindness, her compassion. And I have seen how people come to her place and how warmly they are treated. Every guest who comes to her place is treated, considers her house as their own house. So it's a home away from home for many people coming who are not natives of the US. So this network, so this GARD brings a platform, we otherwise probably we wouldn't have met anytime. But this GARD gave us a platform, and today in such volatile world, world is very volatile and unpredictable. So what we survive through networking only, and it is impossible to physically connect to people. And so GARD is a very beautiful platform, virtual platform, where we are able to talk to each other, discuss things, brainstorm things, come up with ideas, and create solutions, which are actually, challenging the mankind at the last mile. Not the people who are rich, but the people who are poor, who do not have access to facilities, who do not have access to, medical care. So if probably Vanji's, vision behind GARD was that only, to, serve the underprivileged with technology that is viable for them, diagnostic technology that is viable for them, to make a life which is meaningful for them. So I think this is a very beautiful philosophy, very vision. They're definitely a humanitarian vision, and I really feel honored. And we are trying to work with Professor Aracila in a humble way, and we have a joint student who is going to finish his PhD now, and some good work has come out of it. And I hope that this GARD will give us a platform for future collaboration, broadening our networking landscape and bringing more people into this noble initiative. And we should be able to do something for the mankind who are really needing the technology that we are planning to or aiming to develop. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Daya. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for that inspiring message. We really appreciate that. So now we move to the next one on my screen is Divine Dr. Amalin, Divina Amalin.
Yes, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you, Banji. This is a very good platform. I'm enjoying right now because hearing the stories, two stories that I have heard already, very inspiring. And I think I'll be sharing my story. It's almost the same story. And I never thought I will be in science. It's not in my horizon. When I was very young, I would like to be a dentist. But because of financial constraint, my parents cannot send me there. I passed this exam in UP Los Baños, where Banji already also finished her bachelor's. And this is the main government, high-end government university in the Philippines. So I have no choice. My mother said that you have two choices. You go sewing clothes, or go to college in UP Los Baños. So I have no choice but to go to UP Los Baños. Then I choose agribusiness. It's not even far from science, and I didn't like it too. So I have a cousin in UP Los Baños doing entomology, and I have two choices: go plant pathology or entomology. Plant pathology, I don't want microscopes. So I end up in entomology. And this is by, not my desire, no? But then I said to myself, and then I was not a very good student. It's just to pass, okay? And get done with my BS and go and have my other dreams. But then I end up working in UP Los Baños, and the only way to stay there is you have to do your master's. I said, I don't want to go study again, but I have no choice, then did my master's. And that is my turning point when I was doing my master's. And I said, I think I have to love this career, because this is my only path at the moment that I have to go. So I tried and learned how to love the path that I am going through. And I surprised myself. But I'm a good student. I didn't even realize that I can be a good student. Oh, I'm a good student. I can do this, no? I have high grades during masters. Continue. Then I continued, and then I end up teaching in Los Baños, in UP Los Baños. But then my desire of because I learned to love it, so I said I need to do research when I was doing teaching. But when I was hired as a teacher, and they told me you cannot do research because you're hired as a teacher. So then I said I'm going to get out of this teaching. I have to go for research. So I applied for there's an opening, no? There's an international institution in the Philippines that time, International Potato Center, or CIP, Centro de la Papa in Peru, and I applied. And I just applied. I didn't know. I didn't know that there was an exam. And so I took the exam and I did not answer, and I was not able to answer any of the questions, 0 on the exam. But then, and then the other applicants were seriously writing and answering the questions in the exam. Then the supervisor then called me for an interview the same day, the same after the exam. But because I know that I will not be accepted in that position, I just did it very informal and just make it chill. So I told the supervisor, you have not told me that I'm going to take the exam, that there's an exam. If you could have told me, then I could have studied and answered all those questions. So, and he was laughing. So I just, informally answered the questions, and then I went home. The following morning, I got a call from the supervisor and said, you got a job. It's like, what? I'm hiring you. You get the job. You get the jobs. Oh my God, but how did it happen? But because the answers that they got from me is probably coming from my heart. No, it's not really the answer to the question, but it's coming from my heart. Okay. So I told my university, the department, that I'm hard, but they don't want to release me. They told me, my supervisor in the university told me that I will just release you if you get double the salary. So I told the supervisor in the International Potato Center that they will not release me unless my salary is doubled. And then the supervisor said, I will triple your salary. I was like, wow. Okay. Then I went on. But the thing is, it's very different from my field, because my field is basic, no? Taxonomy. I was doing taxonomy of spiders that time. And so, and I had a hard time. I accepted because it's 3 times, imagine, 3 times the salary of my salary. So I accepted the job. But then the supervisor gave me a hard time. I mean, a hard time because he said, it's in your head. So you just have to write it down. I know that you can do it. So like writing proposal, he asked me to write a proposal. The deadline, the following day is the deadline, no? For that. But that is my turning point. I realized that more applied science is meaningful, that I can be exposed to the real world, no? Exposed to the farmers, the potato farmers, the sweet potato farmers. And there I became applied scientist. Then I had to go to a PhD because they said master's degree during that time in the international scene was not acceptable during that time. You have to have PhD. So I have no choice but to go for PhD, and I did it in the United States. And then it became already like an applied science, not anymore on the basic science. So I finished my PhD. I started in Vermont, but did not finish it there because the topic, the environment was not so good for me. So I end up finishing it in Florida, and it's more closer to home because it's the crops and the animals and the research are closer to the Philippines. So, but then I stayed for a very long time in the US. I didn't even realize that I will be staying almost 20 years in the US. And then I got married and got the family there. But because of family also, I have to go home and stay in the Philippines, no? So, but there's no regret of coming back to the Philippines. If not, then I will not be able to meet Banji, you know. If I stayed in the US, I will be in a different world, no, in a different ecosystem. So I believe that this is a destiny, no, that why we are here is because this is what is planned for us. And learning to love what you're doing, you will be exposing to people that it will be relevant to the cause that we are destined to do, like, helping community, for me, it's helping the farmers, because that really inculcated with me when I went back to the Philippines, and I realized, I think I will have a role to help the agricultural community in the Philippines. And there I was exposed to, and the very nice thing is I was able to get all my collaborators in the United States to join me in my research in the Philippines. And it grew and grew, and it's still growing. And now I'm facing these 3 more Filipino, 3 new women in science that hopefully I will be able to connect, and we can come up with a research that will be relevant to all our countries. I am very thankful to Vanji inviting me to be a member of GARD, because I learn more. I learned more every single year of GARD. I learn more. I'm introduced to other scientists, especially women scientists. And opening doors is very important. Opening doors for us to work together. And that is the greatest gift GARD has given to me, because I'm exposed to other scientists, I'm exposed to other people, I'm exposed to other problems, not only in the Philippines, but regional and global problems. And being women in science, I think we will have an important role to do. No? So that's my story. I'm not really thinking, not really dreaming of becoming a scientist or researchers or scientist, a dentist, but here I am. I am now love what I choose to be. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Malin. What a wonderful story to hear. So we've now moved to Christy.
Hold on, let's do a mic check first.
Can everyone hear me? I'm Christy. I'm here to help interpret with Christina.
Yes, we can hear you. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, wait, I can't hear anyone else, but I can hear Christina. Yeah, I think so. Everyone can hear me? Is that correct?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome. All right, Christina, adelante. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for everyone listening. Thank you so much for the invitation. Just listening to everyone is very inspiring. Thank you so much. I'm going to talk just a little bit about all the things that have happened for me to follow this career path. Ever since I was little, I've always been very curious to learn about what's going on around me. I love looking around at everything and learning from everything. So just my interest in living things led me to do a degree in biology. So, and then I got into other fields like experimental biology, molecular biology, and other fields. So for me, like learning these different levels of things and like molecular biology and how things work, it was fascinating. So at one point during my bachelor studies, I was having a conversation with someone, and Christina, hold one second, la parte final, se cortó el sonido un poco. Okay. Ajá. Okay. Yeah. So at one point I had a conversation with someone about like nanotechnology, but at that point I was really young and I didn't think that was something that would be accessible or able for me to get into. So as I continued my studies with biology, and then I got into other things to do with like food and dijiste agua también, no? And no, yep, agriculture. So when I started my master's, I thought that was a way to get more into like experiential things. But where I was doing my master's, I didn't really have access to a laboratory where I would be able to work in the things that I wanted to work on. So I was like trying to get to do what I wanted to do, and I ended up going to the lab here in Chiapas, a public lab. So and that's where I had the opportunity in 2015 to meet Evangie and to work toward working with food, which is what I wanted to work with. And so, and I heard a talk that she gave, and I figured out the way to unite the things with the biology, chemistry, and physics. Creo que dijiste, no? Yeah, and physics. And and nanotechnology. And I think that was just one of the best experiences for me, just seeing all of the possibilities that this could offer. Thank you so much, Evangie, for inviting me to collaborate with you from then onward. The story is just getting started. So with this, and then this project that we connected with Javier Sanchez from Ecosur in Mexico. And the topic that we were working on, it was way more than I ever could have imagined. To like face head on an illness such as tuberculosis. And at that time, an illness that at that time I probably thought I didn't even realize it still existed. I thought it was something from history. So first time when I heard of Angie, I was like, why are we talking about some illness that doesn't exist anymore? So I was just excited to hear about like nanotechnology, but then when I heard the part about tuberculosis, I was like, what? So, and then I told Evangie at that time, I was like, okay, I need to learn a little more and then I'll figure out my spot here, my place in this. So then when I started reading all about tuberculosis, that was like a decisive point for me for continuing. As a way to like contribute and have an effect on the health of people. Yeah, and analyzing populations, figuring out and repite la parte final. Yeah, evaluating methodologies and strategies. That would allow me to like change and save lives. When we understand that our passions and our work they can provoke and create changes in our world and in our surroundings. And that's when we realize the meaning of all of our efforts. And I think that right now that's a main way to keep contributing is through things like GARD. And that's what we're doing. And so, and in that sense, I think GARD goes beyond what each one of us is doing in our own like localized space. So thinking at the global level, we're breaking boundaries. And in that way, we're like learning strategies that will help us in our own local communities in our countries. And I guess like I'm cutting the story a little short, but I'm trying to say that through this is a way for us to participate and collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Christy, also the other Christy for the translation. And thank you, Christina, for a beautiful story. So in the interest of time, we will now move because we have to end by 9:30.
Wait, Vanjie, Mary Joy Gordon Cilio is also here. I don't know why I can't pin her as well.
Oh, okay.
She is also here.
Mary Joy is one of our speakers. Joy, oh there. Joy, can you share your story? So the question was, how did you start choosing the field and what is your story? We would love to hear your story and how you get there. We have to, for the time, we have to end by 9:30. And I would like to give also some time to discuss on how we can move together as a group of women and how we can impact GARD and the globe because we happen to be here. All right.
Yes.
Thank
Sure.
you.
How many minutes do I have?
If you can share for about maybe 10 minutes, that will be
Sure,
good.
that's plenty. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mary Joy Gordon-Cilio. I am a veterinarian by profession. How I got to being a vet, I love the school. I love being in. I love farming. I love the profession. Anyway, I was in Michigan State University back in 2011 when I received that call from World Organization for Animal Health. And one of this is my first encounter on gender. And they said, what is your stand on gender? And I was thinking, what is gender? I wasn't even sure. And the only thing that I said was that being a veterinarian, I have always been moving around women being marginalized because like it's predominantly men, but I think that also in a way toughened me up to be amongst in the company of that's predominantly men. So we are like 30% only women in my class, for example. And then as I move along in World Organization for Animal Health, I was introduced to really the culture of gender, the mechanics of gender. And we have a communication specialist, God bless her soul. She was the one who first exposed me to the concept of gender in the field. So we went around Southeast Asia looking at the life of women farmers, and I can see with a gender lens a different view on how development will proceed with women being involved. From then on, I became passionate, and I have inserted gender in almost everything I do. I worked for World Organization for Animal Health from 2011 until 2016 and moved to Food and Agriculture Organization, where I am now the regional project coordinator for antimicrobial resistance in Asia Pacific region. So part of our work, because of my understanding of how important gender is in our nature of work, I have incorporated how can we infuse gender into understanding and doing better interventions. And so we did a gender checklist, we did a gender strategy for our work in the region, and this is now being utilized how we are working. There's a lot of things that women can do, and there's a lot of advances that we can make if we put a gender lens in the things that we do, in science, in technology, in the field. A lot of the experiences are from visiting from high-level discussions where the decisions are predominantly made by men. There's a difference. It's seeing the advantage of the perspective of having women at the forefront. It really enriches the discussions. It really enriches our perspectives, our actions. And so I guess with this, maybe as a last point, I'd like to share. I was in a VIV Asia forum. So this is an industry forum where I was talking about innovation. So part of my work in an AMR in the region is also infusing gender or infusing innovations. So what, as they said in the forum, as a last point, what would be your closing remark about innovations? And I guess this stands true for all of us. I said innovations doesn't have to be fancy, high-tech, or expensive. It's a matter of changing our perspectives also and looking at where things work. Part of one of the unique things I've seen in the region also, an innovative approach is involving women in biosecurity, because we were talking about biosecurity at that time, and that was a women's day, day celebration during that time. So I said, innovation doesn't have to be really something always fancy or high tech. Involving women for a first start can really help us in advancing biosecurity, because women have a different way of doing things, different perspective. We think a lot, we look at the different aspects of the problem in a different way. And also, aside from that, I think we also need men who believe in gender and who believe that gender and putting gender in perspective will advance the science work. We only do, it's not just about women banding, like standing up, but also having men see the value of inclusivity of women. And with that, I think I see that also because my predecessors, my supervisors, they were all men who stood up and really made sure that women are in the room and that women have a voice in the discussions. So I think gender is not just about women being tough. It's about also women being heard, and women and other genders, other like men or whatever gender classification they have, recognizing that there is value in the inclusivity of our perspectives. And so with that, I hope that's enough. Thank you for the opportunity to share. I'm really passionate about incorporating gender in the things that we do, not only in science, but also in field work and in innovations. So thank you, Dr. Benji, and thank you, Chelsea. Over back to you.
Thank you, Mary Joy. Thank you for that. And if you can just add maybe a 1 or 2 sentences, like how did you get to choose your field? In a quick manner. I know we can have
for choosing veterinary medicine. Well, it's a bit unusual for me because veterinary medicine is not really an area that that's popular for women. I think primarily it was destiny because I think it's the choice. It's veterinary medicine that chose that kind of chose me, and then I just stuck with it and made it through in spite of all the challenges that came with it.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you. So now we are close to 9. I'd like to use the rest of, I have several questions, but I'd like to use the rest of the time to have a brainstorming with here our speakers, including those who are attending. How is this one? The question is this women in GARD worth pursuing moving forward with GARD? That's the first question. The second question is, how can we help each other? How can we make this into a group or whatever you call it, such that we become a force of change and impact to not only the global problems, but encouraging other people and other women and men, as Joy mentioned, to move forward in achieving the vision of GARD, that we would like to keep ourselves focused on how can we help the poor, the very poor, those who need help the most but can't afford the least. That's our GARD mission. In such a way, in the area of diagnostics, where everybody needs diagnostics, poor, rich, whatever, the first thing you do, the first thing that is needed to diagnose this disease is to get a diagnosis. You cannot be treated without a diagnosis. This is the first thing, but yet it's so sometimes inaccessible to many communities around the world. Just the COVID-19 pandemic made me realize that in some places that the diagnostic or the test is probably free, but in many other countries, the people who are suffering are the ones paying for it. And it's just so unbalanced, right? That they are imposing testing, but the people have to pay for it. So anyway, that made me realize that we really need to work together to make sure that those things are accessible and affordable to the very poor communities. So with that in mind, I've opened the floor for suggestions. As I said, this is a brainstorming session. So let's see what we have, what we can do. Give me your ideas. Feel free to
Hi,
share.
Vanji.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
let me start with the response for the two questions that you have posted.
Mhm.
First is about the I support continuation of this platform. Just now, I'm hearing some good sharing that will end up to a collaboration.
Mhm.
So I just don't know how we're going to start with a collaboration, but I think there are also funding for gender in that we can try, in the future. Together we can have a collaboration on that. So I like the what Mary Jo has said on the gender lens in whatever in whatever research focus we're going to look into. So so I support this women in GARD for every year that we do this GARD symposium or forum.
Thank you, Divina. Thank you, Divine. Good, thank you. Any comment? Any other comment?
Hi, Vanji. Hi, everyone.
Hi,
This is
Annalyn.
Annalyn. I don't know if you can see me.
We can see you.
Oh, okay. Well, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. And it's nice to see Joy and all others that I have been interacting by messages. So I joined GARD last year, and to me, it was kind of an introductory feel for what the sciences are doing. I see your work as really exciting, all the technologies, the innovations, and all that. Um, but I come with a passion in not just observing and looking at what's new in the fields, in scientific fields, but really, to me, the meaning of what we all do is when they all make a difference in the communities that we are thinking about benefiting or serving. And I saw Mary Joy's passion in inserting in involving the gender lens into what she does. And so to me, it's like, how the question is, how can we make those other populations that are underserved or that are not really accessing the wonderful technologies and advances that the scientific community accomplishes. And so my I feel like I would be able to contribute to GARD to anywhere in the world when we have that idea or ideas of how we can create a structure wherein the technologies and the communities can intersect. So it may come with maybe ideas about understanding what are the structural forces, barriers of technology transfer or technology access, what's going on in the community, in whether it's political, cultural, sociocultural barriers that may be constraining or constricting from having, say, the diagnostics on TB to reach the people, communities that are probably have hard time, have difficulties in accessing. Is it the economy? Is it the political forces? It is social, cultural constraints. So I mean, there's a lot of things going on that I feel a focus on how and why these inequities continue to restrict the engagement between the scientific world, the scientific advances, and the recipients.
Thank you so much, Annalie. We appreciate that comment. So basically you're saying, go for the women in GARD. Is that what you're saying?
Right, right.
Good.
There are different ways that we can make advance the implementation, the access. And I feel like women being by nature nurturing, we can find ways to connect with the communities, with the structures, with the politics, and all that. I think
All
we
right,
have a
thank you.
way of engaging.
Thank you, thank you. So those are activities that we can do as a group, or like the areas where gender as women can participate in. Any other thoughts? Thank you, Annalie. Appreciate that. Or Angela.
Okay, thank you very much. Besides the additional, what I would like to add is, yes, women in STEM is nice, it's good, but I feel that we should also incorporate men that who are like-minded, so we can go ahead, first thing. And second thing is that since GARD is like we are developing a rapid diagnostic, so we should go for a One Health system. So my example is like myself coming to this GARD, it really helped me out to get connected with the universities within the country. That is the Agriculture University, Dr. Revanta Kumar Bhattarai, I can see here also. And next one is from Kathmandu University, Professor Bhim Shrestha, as well as Mr. Surendra Madhu. And internationally, myself, I'm from Tribune University. And internationally also, like I'm getting connected with Vanji, Chelsea, and Hammond and all. So Bahar and all. So in the end, we should also go in a multidisciplinary kind of a research. That what I would like to suggest is. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So multidisciplinary research.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Angela. Any other comment? In other words, okay, we sort of, there's a sense, I can sense that, yes, the women in GARD should continue, but then what do we do? Right, okay, what do we do? What do you want to accomplish as a group?
Dr. Vanji,
Sure.
may I? Yeah, I think one practical thing that could be done is to have a gender strategy. So it organizes our actions and coordination on what we want out of this. It also harmonizes our intentions, our ways forward. Gender doesn't have to be just about women. What we want, I think this is an add-on value on how efficiently we reach the population that that needed the impact that that everyone is working for. I think it's just maybe an how do you call this, an add-on value to the valuable work that GARD is already set to do, with or without gender in consideration. So I think having a clear strategy will have a clear understanding of both men and women on what the role of gender is. I guess it's also rooted in the fact that for us women, we could be the catalysts for this gender strategy and making the good things that GARD is already doing better. Not that that women have all the answers, but I think we are all nurturing, passionate, care about other people enough that we will want to see the change and not just an endpoint to the products that are being done. Gender can be at the beginning, from the development of innovation, and down the road to application and measuring impact. And I think a very efficient and practical way also is sharing our stories on how incorporating gender in our work has done change in the results that we are looking at. Having this platform to share as people who see the value of gender, I think that's very powerful. Collecting success stories in the field on how incorporating gender in your work, in your everyday work, have made change. So I think those are the few points that I'd like to share. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Yes, Christy. Thank you, Joy. Christy. Christy, we cannot hear Christy. Is the other Christy translating?
There we go. Yes. See, I consider that all of us as people, as individuals, we have this like feeling, this necessity to integrate ourselves in society. And but as in our work as women working in STEM fields, it's not always what we hoped or expect. We know that not all laboratories or academic spaces are things are not always as favorable as for collaboration. But I think that we as women, if we plan out objectives and goals very clearly as women, and I think in some way we end up connecting with the right people. And maybe the key is to share our experiences and listen to each other and then collaborate with others. So, and to like unite or put together all of our different skills and qualities. So I think we need to consider, like, with the technology advances, and to like to recognize our importance, to take ourselves in account. And I think as women, to like position ourselves to collaborate in a respectful way. And to not like repeat 1 second. I want to make sure I get the verb right. Yeah, to not limit ourselves to expectations. Neither from men or from other women. So as women, we have to create an understanding of mutual support. With effective communication and respect. And I think these are the things that are necessary for effective collaboration in any area. So, and I think with GARD and with all the support that I've had during this period in my career, in grabbing by the hand what I've just been sharing with you all. And it's helped me realize and be able to undertake collaborations with many colleagues in my country and my institutions. I've been able to like connect with some around 80 colleagues, men and women. The Mexican Network for Research on Tuberculosis. And I hope that we can work with GARD to work on new diagnostics, not only having to do with tuberculosis, but with other diseases as well, in other countries. And to like kind of change the image, like with Angie, like with the founding of GARD, to change the image and to realize that all the things women that we're capable of achieving. She's been just a great example, and we can all be wonderful, great examples for our countries as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christy. Very wonderful sharing. Thank you so much. And thank you, Christy, for the translation. As Daya is raising her hand, Daya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Angie. I have a small suggestion for intensifying this collaboration and really making this GARD platform a functional platform. Probably all guardians, we can have a web presence. Already GARD has got a web page. There we can have a web presence, and people who are publishing anywhere, they can be posting their full length papers. So this way we will get to know that what every guardian is into it, and probably a small gist of what equipment and what facilities they can extend to other guardians. So that way, when we are working on a research problem, then we can, this would be an online repository for us to go and check, okay, this equipment is with that person, and this way small projects, small collaboration can start. And then I think, Vanji, it is very important that we also have industry presence, because we cannot take it to the last mile. We cannot take it to the consumers. It has to be our researchers, and we have limitations. So industry presence of industry in the GARD, maybe in the future GARDs, would be really, really beneficial in doing all the good work that we all are put together proposing to take it to the beneficiaries who are actually requiring it. Thank you.
Yes, very good. Daya, that is a very good, very good idea. I think industry presence will follow if they can see the value for themselves. And as you said, if we can show that this is a group, especially a global community, where we are closely collaborating and making things, the process easier for everybody. I like that idea of web presence on publications, right? And then facility. An example that we have, just a real example, is that Jessie went to the Philippines to validate her biosensor on the African swine fever virus. And she was at one institution but doing the sampling and analysis and so on, then she discovered that she needed another instrument that was not there. So she contacted Dr. Amalin and like, do you have this instrument? And Dr. Amalin said, yes, we have this instrument. So Chelsea was able to move to DLSU, Dr. Amalin's lab, and finish the experiment. She would have had a very, very difficult situation if we did not have this collaboration, this network. So yes, I agree with you. Like, we have instruments in our lab that we can offer to you. And we say, we have these instruments. And in fact, sometimes I go to a committee and some committee members from biology would say, like, what? You have this instrument? We have been looking for this instrument, things like that, right? So we can put up and we can say, I will say this. You are welcome to come to MSU to our lab to test. All you need to do is get a flight because you are welcome to stay with us in our house. Free board and lodging. As soon as you get here, it's free board and lodging. So you're welcome. But this is an area where we could say, hey, I need to test this just for something, and then I'll just do this. Or maybe there's a possibility where you can mail it and say, can you test it for us? Those are all ways of collaborating. So I like that idea of facility and then industry presence. As I said, I think at least from my experience, industry follows if they see the value of why this should be there. And if you can show them the value, they will join.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Daya. Appreciate that. Any other comment? We have 7 minutes to discuss. What about the ones? So anything else you want to? Yes.
Banji,
Yes.
I think I would like to suggest also one important thing in transferring the technology is the technology transfer, and maybe we will be able to learn from the different institution and also through the women on how are we going to transfer all this technology that we are doing. For me it's one of the harder up to this time, developing technology, developing products, but always there's a stop before it gets to the industry. And I think sharing of success stories, if we can have that, put in the, I think Anjali was this Annalie Campus, the story maps. Maybe we can integrate it there so that everybody can read and everybody can get some information on how are we going to do the technology transfer of the products that we are going to develop.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those platforms that is really friendly, user friendly. It provides that storytelling kind of reduces, the high technological terms that most scientists will use. So it's a good way to connect with people, communities, and it incorporates. It's a multimedia accommodating platform, so you can put videos, short clips, and pictures and results of your research, stuff like that. So there's a huge potential for really connecting with the entire world using even just a story map.
Thank you, Annalie. So that's good. And another thing probably would be we can offer our, shall we say, availability to young people who may be having difficulty, like so Jane has a comment here. Jane, would you like to open your mic? Before I say that, to encourage young women, because many of us that got to this point where the way I'm assessing, this is my assessment, personal assessment, like we have the shall we say, the profile, or the shall we say, the stamina to fight a way in. But there may be some people who may be in that position where they are struggling to fight their way up into the
Right.
system. So this is opportunity to say, hey, you can do it. We'll be behind you, you know. So that's our areas also of opportunities we can offer. Like, hey, I have, say somebody says, I'm struggling with this, and maybe you have gone through it, right? You say like, oh, this is what I did. And you can use my experience, or you can use what I've learned to go through what you are doing now. So basically trying to help the other person walk, in other words, walk side by side with that person and say, yes, I have gone through that, and you don't have to go through it yourself. I'll walk with you, right? So it's kind of like partnership kind of thing. So Jane, you want to say something?
Good morning, everyone. Jane here from MSU. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I like to volunteer. So I think this one was already mentioned, but I put it in the chat earlier before the other speaker shared about the web presence. So I think when I was navigating through the GARD website, we can further enhance it if we have a collection of all of our expertise and GARD members, their affiliation. We can make the contact information not directly available in the website, and it can be clickable. It can be a searchable database where people get to see who are especially looking for partners. So we can make it as a story map. We can add those data visualization in there and make it fancy if you guys want. And I'm happy to engage with Chelsea to have it embedded into the GARD website. So that should be very easy as long as we have the data.
Jane, that is amazing. Thank you so much for volunteering that,
Sure.
because right now everything is, I mean, not everything, but it's always good to have web presence, because
Yeah.
people don't do anymore like, hey, let's exchange business cards.
Yeah.
Business cards is gone, right?
True,
Whenever
true,
I need
true.
to know somebody, I just Google like, where is their
Yes.
website, who are they, and so on and so forth. So web presence is very important these days.
Yep. Yep. So I'm happy to volunteer again. So just I'll connect with Chelsea later. Thank you.
Yeah, Jane, this is a very practical project. We can move together.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Quick action item.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. So with that, we have 1 minute because there's a mock simulation coming in. Thank you so much. I appreciate your presence and support for making this happen forward. So in summary, I would like to close the session. We will proceed with women in GARD, and however gender comes into the picture. Joy, you help us figure this out because you're more advanced on us in thinking about gender. And then we go into web presence and facilitation, facilities, publication, industry presence, and so on. Story map, technology transfer, and then how we can collaborate multidisciplinary ways. All right. With that, Chelsea, I know we have to move into mock simulation. I
Yeah.
formally close the session, and I'm looking forward to